Hey, sports fans, Coach Nick here. Welcome to B-Ball Breakdown and our live show. I figured let's do something for everybody here because obviously I'm not, wow, I'm not, let me mute this. Wow, it's been a little while since I did a live show, so forgive me, I've forgotten to press the right buttons. But first off, big shout out to Gigolo Puff out there who is moderating the comments on YouTube to keep them germane, clean, whatever you want to call it, since we are in the clean mode with coronavirus as it is. I hope you guys are all feeling okay and really practicing social distancing, because obviously so many people can actually have the virus without having any symptoms and then pass it along. And within two people that you meet, that's an elderly person or someone who already has a pre-existing condition that could really hurt them. So what's going on here? The chat is all fired up now. It looks like a lot of guys going through here, so I'm going to try and keep my eye on that as much as possible because I'd like to answer some questions, and I don't know exactly what we're going to be able to do as far as we can kind of talk about what happened in the NBA so far, what might happen going forward. I don't know. But it definitely feels like the 30-day limit the 30-day moratorium that Adam Silver mentioned is probably the absolute minimum. And I kind of feel like it's going to be a lot longer. Now, I'm not going to be the guy who's going to be hysterical and crazy about what's happening with the coronavirus, but my wife's a doctor. We're like looking at this and studying this, every day and what this is happening. And it looks like we're, a couple of weeks behind Italy. And Italy, if you haven't noticed, is to shut down the entire country, and it's a real problem. And part of the problem was that they kind of ignored a lot of the warnings early and were out in the cafes and doing a lot of socializing, and that spread it a lot faster. So I'm kind of curious. I went to the supermarket yesterday, and it looked like every aisle, almost everything was gone. It was very eerie, almost like those movies that you see, like Dawn of the Dead or whatever. So really kind of scary stuff. I'm wondering if that's the case with you guys too. I've seen some videos of like Costco with lines that are miles long, and give me an answer here in the comments. Let me scroll on the bottom of the comments and see if anyone's responding right away for that. But let's see here. I purchased 100 toilet paper rolls. The people that got in trouble for hoarding this hand sanitizer and all those things and then trying to sell them on Amazon for a lot more money, they got shut down, or a lot of them did apparently recently, which is good. It's probably should border on illegal for doing that, because obviously they should be available for everyone to buy at whatever the market price was at the time. Yes, I enable the yeets. My son is a big yeet eater. Yes, and oof. Anybody? Can we get an oof in this chat? Let's see here. Interestingly, Taha says that Warriors are going to 6 straight finals. It's kind of funny because with this extra gap in time, Klay Thompson could be healthy, and all of a sudden they have Wiggins and maybe Draymond's going to play, and then Klay, and then Steph. They could make an interesting run at something, but they're too far behind. I think they actually already are eliminated from the playoffs or within a game, so it wouldn't matter. But that would have been really kind of fascinating if that could have happened. It would have been like crazy because nobody would have wanted to play them as the 8th seed. That would have been insane. And by the way, so Christopher Moody says that he's been socially distancing himself his whole life. I kind of do the same thing. I was thinking about it. I'm in my office by myself every day, all day. So I'm not, this is nothing new for me, basically, until the family comes back from school and work. And then I got to, hang out for dinners and nights. But, it's not that much different for a big chunk of my day. And I'm probably lucky because that way I'm not, shaking hands with everybody and getting possibly infected. There's the oof. Oh, Andrew Zhu, thank you so much for a super chat. They're always welcome. Thank you. It really is amazing to me how dedicated you guys are to come in here and be part of the conversation. And again, he wants me to apply for the Nets head coaching job. Man, that whole thing, we could talk about that for a little bit of a minute. I haven't really dug into any of my sources to find out exactly what the nature of that was. But generally, when you read some of the insiders, even the ESPN level, you could probably believe a lot of what you heard about that. If you haven't heard, Kenny Atkinson got fired, but he kind of seemed to be in on it or be willing to be fired or leave. That said, his team was in the playoffs at the moment. He's not leaving, voluntarily. That doesn't make any sense. So the writing was on the wall. What changed? Well, obviously, the roster changed. That was probably the only thing, because the guys there from the years before, I think, really would have owed a lot of their career to Kenny Atkinson and recognized how valuable he was for them. So I don't know how that works. It seems like Kenny Atkinson and then Dave Blatt. They could get together and form a support group for coaches who all of a sudden out of the blue have to deal with a superstar in their team and then figure out, how to handle that properly, better, differently to keep their jobs. I don't know. Maybe it was never going to be a possible thing at that point. But yeah, that was pretty rough, and it seemed like he deserved a chance to have Kyrie, have KD and the team together and see where they go next year. So that just seemed kind of viciously unfair, and that's the problem. It's when you sign up and you sign that contract as an NBA coach, that's what's going to happen. So let me monitor that because I also feel like I missed. Oh, you know what? I missed last time some people who did super chats. I somehow couldn't see that in the feed, and I feel terrible. I want to give them a shout out too. So I know I saved their names in one of these files here. Here it is. So let me just give them a quick shout out. So Daniel Evans last time, and this was actually on Christmas. This is how long ago I've done these. I hope you guys have been missing me on these live shows because I don't know what, but I'm meaning to do them. I haven't done them, but here I am, and we're gonna do a lot of these. And then we had, let's see, Balalji Yadav did a super chat. So did Carlos Serrano, and twice, my God. So I feel horrible, and I've been waiting. I've had this document open this whole time to say thank you to you guys. So Daniel Evans, Balaji Yadav, Carlos Serrano twice. Amazing stuff. So thank you. And I also want to make sure I open the right page and look at this. They did a whole new thing with, see, like this new thing on my on YouTube, the new streamer doesn't even tell me that there was a super chat. And I don't know why, because I just saw one. So I'll keep trying to maybe refresh this. Okay, let's go back to the comments because I also have a little fun stuff for you. I have a. I wonder if I better not reset this because I'm afraid I'm going to lose my connection. But it's not updating on the browser, so hopefully I will notice and see these super chats. So if you come in, I'll give you the big shout out and thank you. Let's see here, and I have a couple clips I'm going to share with you. So stay tuned for that. I'll do that in a few minutes. But let's get through some more comments while we're here. Man, this is going to be hard to go through. So many, and so great to see everybody. I hope you guys, again, are safe and feeling okay. Let me just check one thing over here. I'm kind of curious. All right, 355 people in there. That's what it says right now, at least. 359. All right. Hey, share it with everybody. Let's get some more people up in this chat. What do you say? And I'll make it worth your while because I'm going to actually go through the couple clips that I'm going to share with you and just talk a little bit about how I break down these games, how I look at this, what I'm looking for. It should be really interesting stuff. Beastie Boy, same here in Scotland, Coach Nick, baby products, medication, soap, hand sanitizer. Yeah, it's all sold out. We actually went to Smart and Final a couple weeks ago and bought everything when no one was out there. We got a lot of canned goods, potatoes, onions. What else did we get that saves? That kind of stuff. And it was helpful, but then we started eating it like during that last week, and then all of a sudden I had to go back out and get more. So we'll see. I'm more worried. We got a lot of water, but it's like that's what I'm worried about. If water stops working and stuff, and gas and electric and all that stuff. How far do you think the Rockets will go? I'm in the middle of doing a video on that too. I was kind of getting it prepped because of the small ball. What's interesting is that someone on Twitter had told me this, and I think I might agree, that because they went to ultra small ball, it seems like it benefits Russ a lot more than Harden now. And it's unclear maybe if Harden is banged up and maybe injured or something. It's not quite clear to me exactly why that's happening that way. But, I'm digging into it. I don't think that they're going to get very much farther than the second round. I just feel like right now there's too many disadvantages, and they rely a little bit too much on having to get like super hot from three, which the margin for error is so small that you can't quite give them any kind of favorite status to get beyond like the second round. Is Durant and Kyrie's return possible? Oh, that's interesting. That is interesting. I wonder if they're going to do something because a lot of times, I know coming up, but it hasn't happened yet, rosters have to get locked in at a certain time. And I would imagine that hasn't happened yet. And so in theory, yeah, KD, could be ready, and Kyrie certainly could be ready too. That would be really fascinating because then they would have to be favored to get to the NBA Finals in the East. I would imagine. Although, again, KD's going to be really rusty. But then, again, he'll have 20 games. I hadn't even really thought about that. So, Vasudevan, KJ, great point. No one had even mentioned that. I don't think on Twitter, but that's a really good point. Let's see here. All right, that was another one from Solomon. The same question about the Rockets. Good question. Now, yeah. So I'm kind of curious. Is everyone like canceling? I'm assuming no one's going to the gym, right? That would be a mistake. Again, it's not worth it. Yes, let's see here. Please make a video about him being fired. They're my favorite videos. Eddie Johnson. Okay, yeah, I'll do one on Coach Atkinson and what happened there. That's a good idea. I don't know how that got dropped, but life has been happening. Do you think that Kyrie's attitude is hurting every team he's playing on? Well, it certainly seems that way, and you think that he would learn the next time around. It'd be like maybe just to communicate better. So there's always hope. They've won it. He won a title, but he had LeBron on his team, so that's there's a little bit of a mix of he did get the result he wanted, but it may not have been exactly. But then again, he was the guy who hit the shot. I would give Kyrie the benefit of the doubt one more time. John, nothing. Coach, can you coach my little girls basketball team? Absolutely. Are you in Los Angeles? Let me know. And by the way, I do have a Wednesday night clinic when that will start up again in a month here in LA. And if you have a kid who's 9, 10, 11, 12, Wednesday nights, you can email me at coachnick@bballbreakdown.com. It's awesome. We're doing really cutting edge stuff. So I'm teaching 9-year-olds, one-handed passes. We're now working on rhythm on the jump shot. They're getting back behind the 3-point line now. The college or the 19-9, the high school 3. So I never would have done that in my past ever before. But now that we understand properly how to teach shooting, you can actually do that. And they're not just throwing the ball in. They're still shooting it with proper energy transfer. We're doing all sorts of fun stuff. I'm just giving them things I give an upper level high school player. And you know what? They're getting better at it. It's really kind of scary how that works. So hit me up if you're in LA and you have some kids like that. Let's see here. Well, here's one that jumped out at me from ETS Productions. Will you do breakdowns of past NBA games? Absolutely. I'm going to do lots of retro breakdowns. If you're new to the channel, and maybe not even that so new, you might remember, or if you're older to the channel, you remember I used to do a lot of retro breakdowns. They were always really popular. Maybe not gotten the most watches or most views, but people always loved them. So we're doing one. And then speaking of which, tomorrow is a retro breakdown. I'm going to break down the 2010 NCAA finals in honor of March Madness being, in memoriam of the NCAA tournament being canceled. I'm going to do that game, which for full disclosure, I had missed that game. I never had seen it, only seen like some highlights because we had to fly to Hawaii at the time with my wife's family, don't ask. And we were supposed to land like an hour before the game started and ended up getting delayed like 5 hours. My wife was sick. I had these 2 young kids to deal with. I missed everything. It was horrible. And so I missed this incredible ending of the game. And so I broke down the game. If you're a Duke fan, you might not want to watch it. Only because, you know how I am. I like underdogs. It's a great story because Butler was a 5th seed and, mid-major going up against Duke in a Cinderella run. And they really, I think Brad Stevens completely outcoached Coach Krzyzewski without question. And I'm going to show that in the video. And, a couple bounces here or there, and they would have won. And it would have been even a more crazy story. Salman Bakaniseva asks, do you think the NBA will cancel the season? I think it's more likely than not that they will cancel it, honestly. I don't think that the 30 days is what they're going to do. It's going to be at least 60. And I bet you the NBA season gets canceled at that point. It gets pushed back so far. But remember, the owners are motivated. They don't want to lose that money. But they also have a clause in their contract, a force majeure, which if you are a renter or you buy a home, you always see this clause and you always ignore it because it deals with an act of God. Well, this is an example of an act of God that they could in theory legally apply and not pay the players and get out of all that extra money they have to pay. I don't know what the contract is for the TV though, because they might have already gotten that money for the season. It might not matter to them, but it might, and so that could be a thing. And by the way, there's also obviously the gate revenue they're not going to get. That's big, but doesn't really compare to what they get from the TV money. Let's see. I'm just going to, and if I miss a question, just ask it again. I'll get to it, I hope. Eric Scheibel asks, what do you think of the Raptors? Love them. I would give them the favorites to make the NBA Finals, honestly, coming out of the East. I think that they have that swagger because they've got a lot of NBA title winners now on that team, and Coach Nick Nurse has really got to be the best. He's given Brad Stevens a run for his money at this point in the East, and the way they switch defenses, they play zone, they box and one, they'll press, they'll do everything like that to disrupt the other team. They've got Siakam is just a star in the making, or maybe he's already a star. Fred VanVleet, one of my favorite players. Oh, I have some interviews coming up I did last week. I got one that I'm going to do with OG Anunoby and Fred VanVleet. It was kind of surprised because he wasn't playing. I didn't think he'd be in the locker room, but there he was. We started chatting. Next thing you know, I got my camera out. We filmed it. So I talked to him for a few minutes too. So stay tuned for that. It'll be really good stuff. Which didn't. It was actually before they played Utah, so it didn't make me feel too nervous being that close proximity. But that was the Thursday, the week before when Steph came back, and it was a little bit harrowing. And the funny thing was that they banned reporters from the locker room. I think the next day after I was there. I hope it wasn't for me, but what I had mentioned on Twitter was that, for however scared they are of the reporters interviewing them and maybe giving them coronavirus, I was equally scared of them giving it to me. That was really what I was concerned. They're the ones flying all over the place, guarding people and sweaty and touching the ball and touching the fans and all these different things. Those are the guys I would be more worried than they were to me. But anyway, so far, nothing's wrong with me or any of the people I was interacting with. Although I did have a heart attack when they reported that Steph had the flu. But apparently they tested him and he had the regular flu. So there's my answer for the Raptors. So what's my NBA Finals? The Revival asks. So I'll go with the Raptors, and I'll go with who are we talking about in the West here? Oh my God, has it already been that long? It's an easy question. The Lake. I might still go with the Clippers. I know the Clippers got beat by the Lakers recently, but I can't believe Lou is not going to show up for 4 or 5 games in the course of a week during a 7-game series. So. And why do I think the Clippers are better? Oh, my goodness. Where did it go? Somebody just asked why I think the Clippers are better. Oh, there it is. Severable power. So I think the Clippers are just deeper. That's one thing. Defensively, they can really defend. I know the Lakers are defending well, too, but I just feel like, the big question is Montrezl Harrell, can he handle being so small ball? I think it's the other way around. Can the Lakers afford to go try and stay big-ish with him in center? There's pros and cons to both sides. So I just think that overall the Clippers go deeper, and that's going to help them in the playoffs if they're both healthy and everything's equal. What is Jaren Jackson Jr.'s ceiling? Aman Siddiqui asks, and that's a good question too. His absence has been killing the Memphis Grizzlies a little bit there, and he is just terrific. I don't know if his ceiling is much higher than it is, but I think he's like 2010 at this point. So, all-star, 25 point a game score, 10 boards. He shoots threes. He plays a little defense. He's terrific. So, his ceiling is high. But he's getting there really quick, as is the rest of the Grizzlies. Although it's funny because I've gotten intoxicated with Ja Morant's highlights, and if you watch 2 or 3 games in a row, you start to see some rookie stuff without question. But if this is the floor he's on, geez Louise, that ceiling is going to be damn high for him too. Who do I think? Well, Lion King asks, who do I think will win Rookie of the Year and Most Improved Player? Most improved could be. Chris on the Pistons. Oh my God, my brain is mush. Maybe I don't think I have it, but my brain is. You know what? My brain's been mush for years now. I'm going to tell you right now, Chris on the. Someone's going to tell me and then call me a horrible name too, but I will tell you. Chris Wood. He's been having a terrific year, very quietly on a team that's not really going anywhere. And I'm going to do a video I think with him, so stay tuned for that. And I would go with him. He's been really impressive. And then Rookie of the Year, I think you got to go with Ja. I get the argument about Zion just not being around for long enough. But that said, why not just come up with a minimum amount of games or a minimum amount of minutes or something? Just let's get that going so there's no gray area anymore. If a guy plays 50 games or if he plays 60, let's just make a number and once and for all just make that happen. And then that way we'll at least eliminate some of this randomness of why they're getting picked or not. Charlie Wilson, who's the number 1 pick? I have no idea. I haven't even looked at college yet. I usually do it around now. So I guess there's the big kid who couldn't play at Memphis, who supposedly is really good. But the only problem I think with that is that he might be obsolete in a few years. The center in the NBA could very well be, Montrezl Harrell might be the biggest kind of center you're going to see going forward. Or same with like what Houston's doing. That might end up being what the NBA looks like in 3 years. And all of a sudden, all those big centers that cannot shoot at all aren't going to play or aren't going to make it. So it's interesting. Well, are you guys ready for a clip? I'm going to give you a clip right now from the Duke Butler video I'm editing right now, and I'll announce a little special something after on the other side of this. But here, let's try this and see if it works. It'll play all the way through the first time, and then we'll go through frame by frame and discuss a little bit what we see. With all the bodies in and around the basket, it made it easy for Butler to help out on any Duke advantage, as Hayward was only one step away to thwart this layup, and because three players gravitated towards the lane on the shot, Butler can race back down to get an easy bucket in transition until Shire's incredible hustle broke up the play. Duke continually defaulted. Okay, so that first clip was interesting, wasn't it? And I'm going to share that with you because I wanted to talk a little bit about the Duke versus Butler, because it was an interesting thing about how I look at the game as well and how I break it down. A lot of people always ask me this question, so I figured I'd answer that while we have some time here. But let's see here. Oh, I missed a super chat earlier. Oh no, where? Jigglypuff, tell me. Why did I not see it? I thought I grabbed one, but I just saw that. And then does it stay or does it go away? Let me open up my live streaming. And yeah, see, here's my problem. In my viewer activity, where it's supposed to tell me this, it's blank. And I already know I got one. And in fact, the chat is not updating here. Oh, you know what? This looks like it's not frozen. So Jigglypuff, tell me if you did a super chat, and I want at least let me give a shout out. I'm sorry. And then do that thing with the orange so I could see it. Man, I'm sorry. Christian, what is coronavirus? Uh-oh. Is that true? Don't tell me that. All right. Hopefully Jigglypuff will do another big message to me and tell me who it was, because it doesn't show up anymore. YouTube fixed this, so it shows up all the time. Top chat. What does that mean? Okay. Oh, I see. Not all things are visible. Anyway. All right. Here we go. Let's talk a little bit about that clip. Let's stay on target. So where are we here? So I'm going to share this, and let's go over here to my, this won't be as smooth as the first one because I'm going to share my screen because I can control it. But either way. So here's what I'm looking at here is, if we all see this, this is called a floppy set in the very beginning. And what I mean by floppy is that you have these two guys setting pin down screens. Now, unfortunately, the way they filmed this game was a low angle, and it's not wide enough to see exactly. But what you can see right here is, my cursor is visible. It should be visible, so I think you can see this. You can see right here is a pin down on one side, and then if we could have seen more what was happening. The other problem I had with all this action here is that Duke was sort of playing motion offense, sort of free form. And so this guy is like always screening. I think that's Plumlee. That's Mason Plumlee. And he's always screening somebody as a pin down. And here's Kyle Singler coming across here. But at the same time, you have another guy cutting up and trying to like set a back screen on Shire here. This is all a mess. Now, Plumlee wants the lob, but there's all these people in the way. At this moment here, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got 5 guys in the lane. So they get the post up here with Singler. And again, look what happens here. They cut another guy through here. This Plumlee is just standing here in the way. So his man can just stand here and get in the way too. There's just nowhere to go for anybody. So here's what I do like. At least they made this into like a pick and roll from the post, which I really like and people don't do enough of. But then again, look, he just cut through. He's standing there. Plumlee is standing there. And this is the only guy who's actually like spaced somewhat okay, and his man had to follow him out. So now they get a nice slip pocket pass, okay, because they hedge and they got double team Singler. But look what happens. This is such an easy help because it's so clogged here, and you can see him ducking in. This is the other problem is the college coaches are obsessed with duck-ins. And what I mean by duck-in is what this guy's doing on the weak side. He steps in to post up and try and beat his man in the front. Well, it always serves to just clog the lane more. So when they're running this nice pick and roll here, Gordon Hayward can come over and completely bother and almost take the ball out of his hand and then force a terrible miss. So that is frustrating when you do that a lot. And now that you have these two guys who are always hanging around the basket, trying to set screens, they're generally going to be lured to go in for the rebounds, whatever. Now you're not in a position to get back on defense, and it's an easy run out. And thank goodness Duke had Shire run through, and that this guy, 21, I'm forgetting his name for it right now, kind of took his time, probably was a little nervous, went on the right side. I would have said stay on the left side and shoot this with the left hand, nice and easy, let the rim be a protector of the ball. So they're lucky he kind of like slowed up and just sort of, laid that up like he did and allowed him to, allowed him to block that shot. So there's an interesting way of how like I go about analyzing the video. So what I first look at would be like, let me just see here. Did Jigglypuff get back to me? He answered already. Raps and clips. Okay, cool. So, I think when I first look at it is the guys bring the ball to the court. I'm not looking at the ball at that point. I'm looking at the other four players. What's their alignment? Is it like horns? Are there two high posts, or is it a floppy where they're setting the pin downs by the elbow or by the blocks, the lower blocks? Are they spread wide, 5 out? There's not that many different possibilities, and so I start to kind of look at that as, okay, what are they running? Then you can kind of maybe morph into like what the defense is doing. It's not easy to see both at the same time. I generally go back and then see, okay, what did the defense do? Why did it break down, or why did they get a steal or stop? So, there's a lot of sort of checklisting I go through very quickly in my head as it's, I've been doing it for so long now. And that's where I get the sense of like, okay, what are they running? What are they not running? And then there are certain teams that, either like, for instance, Duke ran that play I just showed you basically every time down. It was kind of embarrassing in my mind because it's boring, A. If you're a player, imagine running the same exact set or starting the same set the same exact way. Let's say you're playing in the game that way. That's got to be boring. You're doing the same exact thing every time. And then if you're a perimeter player who wants to be able to drive and you can never do that because they're always posting up, they're always ducking in, they're always setting screens down low. There's just never any room. Meanwhile, when you watch Butler play their offense, it's like night and day. They were setting drag screens. They were setting pick and rolls. I have another clip for you I can show. If you guys are ready, should I do that right now? You want another clip? Is that fun? Okay. So Jason Wang is telling me that Christian Wood tested positive for coronavirus. Sources. I guess I'm going to have to treat that as that's true. Okay. Oh, and you know what, Tigglopov, thank you for telling me again, Finley McGill, for the awesome super chat. Thank you. Again, why is that not popping up in this chat? I don't know. There must be a weird thing because I'm keeping my eye on it. But anyway, keep me on my toes, Jurlo. Make sure I see these. So Finley McGill asks, I train on my own. What training is best? Wow. That's really a little bit tough, but at the very least, you should be training your shooting, okay? And shooting off the dribble. I have to imagine eventually we're going to start seeing 3-point percentages off the dribble mirror what they are on the catch. Right now, they're still behind. And they're harder shots just because a lot more things going on mechanically by having to pick the ball up and then shoot it in the defenders. But and the nature of a catch and shoot tends to be like maybe you're more open or not. But still, I feel like that off the dribble and then, game shots are also key. I remember no one played harder than I did. No one trained harder than I did in the 80s trying to get better when I was in high school. But I had no idea what to do. I would go shoot 1,000 shots, but I wouldn't have any sense of shooting game-like shots where I get, maybe a little bit. I can remember at one point as like a freshman, the offense we ran seemed to like generate like elbow jumpers. So I worked on elbow jumpers for a while, but no sense of like, well, what direction should I be moving if I catch the ball that way? Should I catch it? Should I dribble it? None of that stuff. So now that we understand a lot better how to do game-like situations, that's what you could be really, really training is, obviously ball handling is important too, but to me, what the ball handling is how can you get it from the dribble into your shot cleanly? You still see NBA players fumble that pickup sometimes, and they miss the shot because of that. Not because of what the defense did or how hard the shot was. It was because it wasn't a clean pickup. So when you watch Steph do all those 2-ball drills and all the crazy stuff, I don't believe he's doing the stationary stuff for his ball handling. I think he's doing it to improve the cleanliness of his pickup from the dribble to the shot. And that's a really key mindset to have when you're training. So, and I'll by the way, I have I've already have it. I'm kind of relaunching it now too. This monthly membership. Plus, I'm going to be selling individual videos very soon that will help you. They're designed for coaches because I want the coaches to learn different methods and how to teach this stuff. That said, you could buy it as a player and you can follow it and it will help you as well. So they're both ways because obviously, as a player and you're working on your own game, you are your own coach. And I tell my 9-year-olds this right now every Wednesday night in my clinic. I tell them, I said, I asked them, I said, who is your best coach for shooting? And they all like kind of point to me. I'm like, no, you are. You just need to be able to listen to know what your body is telling you and what is happening there to then understand how to improve those things. So I can help, I can shape, I can give some suggestions and give them an environment to learn. But it's really, you got to be able to listen to yourself and figure out that before anything else. Let's see here. I got a question. Characature. Quick hypothetical. What effect would widening the court 2 feet on each side have on the game? Side to the three-point line would move out to its natural arc. Thank you for the content. No problem. Great question. I wouldn't necessarily argue about widening it because the players are so darn big and it's hard to get that space. I would imagine it would make it almost impossible to play defense at that point. And the one thing about the corner threes, they're not always easier or higher percentage because they're closer. It's because the nature of getting a pass, because they're almost all catch and shoot shots, but it's the nature of getting a pass, and then if you're open enough to shoot it, then you're open in that area. You can't close out from any other direction from the baseline area, right? Only one direction, basically, the basket area. So that's really why those are more open and they go in more. So if you put it a little bit farther back, that wouldn't affect, I don't think, the percentage. I still think it would probably be, a higher percentage anyway for the reasons I mentioned. But I think it would be really hard for the defense to. You'd see an explosion of scoring. I think that would be the big thing, which may or may not be bad. I don't know. Francis asks, do I think the Cavs are losing because of the plays they make, the coaching, and the players? Well, they're playing a little bit better now. They have a new coach. And those all go hand in hand. And it looked like Beeline could have done write a book about maybe how not to take over a young team in the NBA coming from college. I don't know. But it sounded like there were enough mistakes there that he didn't have the benefit of the doubt on a couple of minor things that blew up in his face, and it became a big problem. Okay, so if Shams tweeted it, then I'm going to take his word about Christian Wood, which is terrible. But again, that just means, I think, okay, so Detroit was one of the teams that played Utah, and so that means Serge did not get it, and he guarded Rudy Gobert a lot, which is fascinating to me. Now, that said, it's possible he could get it, even after they tested him now, but unlikely. But it just shows you that it's most likely that it has spread and it'll be around the NBA. My question now is, how sick are they going to get? How sick do pro athletes get from this versus a regular person versus an older person? That's what I'm interested about. Let's see. Do I think the game is becoming too three-based? If so, what would you do to fix it? Are any of the strategies sprawl ball or anything else? That was Ayumide. Felipe. Okay. Good question. Yeah, I mean, we have to look at the 3-point, what's the word I'm looking for? They use in the stats on NBA. Oh my gosh. The 3-point frequency. I think there's a magic number. I'm not sure we figured it out yet. We know that the Rockets are above 50% for all their field goals and they're taking threes. I would suspect it's pretty close to that and not anything more than 50%. It's just kind of a gut feeling. It might be the fact that I just have a hard time watching NBA a lot these days. I kind of turn the channel, and I think it's after 5-6 minutes, I almost feel like it's the possessions where it's 3-pointer brick, 3-point make, 3-pointer brick, 3-point brick. When you get 2 or 3 of those in a row, I something about it gnaws at my brain. So I used to say, yeah, if you could create 50 great 3-point shots, then take 50 great 3-point shots. So again, that sort of could be the argument where, hey, if every one of your shots is a great drive and kick for an open 3, then take those, right? I guess you should take every one of those. It's not going to happen that way, but at some point, yeah, that frequency needs to level off, almost like the coronavirus, right? We're just watching that thing grow, and then we're looking for that curve when it starts to level off. That is, we're going to get there eventually. I think within maybe 5 more years of serious data, I think eventually we're going to actually come mathematically with the right answer for that, and then certainly the goal of what they should be. And you know what? It'll probably be like what all the old school coaches felt anyway, believe it or not. Let's see here. All right, let's do another clip. What do you say? Let's do the next clip. So here we go. And this is all coming up tomorrow, and I have a very special guest. I'm bringing on a player who played in this game, and someone you all know. And he's going to come on and talk about his experiences in this game. I'm going to mix it in with this video, which is why I didn't release it today, because I just got I made the plans for tomorrow morning early. So it'll come out tomorrow, in the afternoon. And we'll do a premiere. We'll try that. All right, here it is. Here's another clip. Number of easy shots Duke got in this game were few and far between. But this set was nice, where they show a back screen for Singler. He opts to use the cross screen instead and gets a running start. His defender foolishly goes underneath the screen, and that's all the room he needs. Meanwhile, Butler continued to run great offensive sets, like this Matt Howard inside ball screen that gets him great low post position as they crack back to the weak side wing. Lance Thomas has no hope against this perfect bounce pass, and Butler ties it up. The number of easy shots Duke got in this game were few and... All right, that whole thing play? I think so. I looked away to Twitter for 1 second, but there's another clip, and let's go through that, sort of one-on, frame by frame to see what we have here. So let's do that, and let me get that clip up here. Okay, so what do we have here? Okay, we have back-to-back things. So here's finally like I mentioned, finally the Dukes out of a timeout or was after a free throw. They had a break and play where Coach K could call a new play. So you see him call it. Although this looks like Shire is calling it live, like right when they're doing it. Versus this should have been called, a minute ago when they were shooting the free throw for Butler. But either way, so guard forward entry, and what you can see here is Kyle Singler on the weak side has a choice. And first of all, you kind of have this weird thing where Shire is running off a back screen, which is all sort of false action because the real stuff's happening over here. I don't even know why he's doing it, but they're doing that. So what you see here is he has a choice. Singler can go and use this going back door, but there's nowhere to go because you got Gordon Hayward just standing there waiting for him because they knew that Lance Thomas was not a threat and they would be happy for him to shoot it. So then you see Zubek coming over after he screens here to screen this way. Now, the mistake obviously was the defender going underneath this screen because the thing you want to have happen is Singler put the ball on the ground. It was without question. It was not his strong suit. So he gets a lot of space. I mean, that's a wide open jump shot. Look, he's got 6 feet of space on the catch, and he releases the ball, goes in. And then we have the next play down, or soon after that, Butler. Now look at how open this lane is now after the guy's cutting through. It's just wide open here, all this space. Look how far they're dragging out the defense. Now here's the key that drove me nuts. There was never any adjustment because kind of like I guess back in 2010, high hedging the pick and roll in the college was the only way they did this. And even in the pros, dropping was still new. They didn't do it that much then. That's when I started B-ball breakdown. So watch what happens. You see Zubek high hedge. His whole job, he does his job perfectly according to the high hedge. Force the dribbler out away towards the half court line, and then the dribbler's man's going to try and run underneath here. But look what it ends up doing. It now has Zubek 8 feet above the three-point line, the other man sprinting in that same direction to get the ball handler. And now you have a 2-on-1 here. Okay, there's no way, if you do this right, to stop this. So what happens is that lets Matt Howard get really good low post position on a smaller guy because this is a man up here. They quickly, on the corner lift, hit it here, crack back on a beautiful bounce pass, and it's a layup. So if you were to compare the kind of shots that Butler generated consistently every time down compared to Duke, Butler should have won by 10 points. And, then the question is, well, Duke was really good. They were better. They deserved it. I don't think Duke deserved to win that game, honestly. I feel like they were outcoached. And I feel like Brad Stevens could only shrug and say, listen, we got great shots every time down. We were a little bit nervous. We were a little overwhelmed. We didn't hit all those shots. That center, that scorer, got into some foul trouble on a couple terrible calls. So, that was a problem that really hurt them because they were not deep. And when you take out your starting center, who was always very vital for them, it really, really hurt them. So that was a problem, too, which caused the loss. So you'll see a lot more examples of a lot of that in the breakdown tomorrow. So let's see. I just lost my let me go back to the thread and see what I'm missing here on the comments. Anything. Okay. So I'll start from here. Why did the Hornets start losing more after having some promise earlier in the season? They're just not great. They're just not good. I'm sure the schedule got harder, and they don't have a lot of upper NBA level talent, and that's just going to kill them in the long run. I like some of their players, and they're young, but it's just they're not good enough. I watched the game the other day, and I was just like, yeah, it just was not impressive to me what they were doing. Yo, mama. Hey, coach, quick question. Do you believe the NBA should move three-point line back? If you did that, you'd benefit guys like Steph Curry even more because now it makes it a premium, even a more premium shot. And they're already good at shooting those. So I don't know if they need to move it back. I don't think that's the answer. Karina wants to know about the 5th seed Thunder. I'm really impressed, and they're going to be tough, man. The only problem you have is Chris Paul. What's he going to do in the playoffs? Is he going to be the guy he's kind of, in the playoffs hasn't been great, or will he be better? I don't know. And if he's as good as he is in the regular season, in the playoffs this year, they have a lot of guys who have experience and some who don't that they rely on, like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But he had experience last year in the playoffs too. Forgive me. So they're going to be a tough out. They're going to be really exciting. And if they're the 5th seed, they can easily upset the 4th seed in whoever that's going to be. And then who knows if that what happens in the second round. I don't know if they can get it out of there, but it would be really interesting. Should the Sixers fire their coach? At some point after a certain amount of years, a certain amount of time, things get stale, it doesn't really work. I think they're kind of getting close to that, either with the pairing of Simmons and Embiid, or and then having Brett Brown there, or all three. So don't be surprised if there's some major changes that happen. I mean, now we don't know what's going to happen with the season, but it's don't be surprised is all I can tell you if they do some changes there, and that's trades or the coach. And that Joshua Phillips, it kind of goes to your question there. Any other coaches that are in the hot seat? I mean, let's just kind of quickly look at the standings real quick so I could tell you what I think. Let's see here. I mean, any kind of hot seat, we have to go down. I would think that Boylan would be in the hot seat in Chicago. And let's see here. The Pistons, no, that they weren't really expected to. I would think that, the Hawks, he'll be in the hot seat as well. Help me. I interviewed him. Coach Pierce, probably in the hot seat. Anybody else in the Western Conference? I mean, I don't know about Terry Stotts. He's been there for so long. I feel like, he's. I think it's a roster thing more for them. Gentry should be in the hot seat, but he might get a reprise because of some of the injuries, like to Zion. They're playing much better with him now. And if they make the playoffs, if they ever resume, then he won't be. Let's see here. Popovich might be done. And let's see here. I don't know if they can. Saunders in Minnesota. I mean, they had really big expectations this year, really big, and it's gone south in a really fast way. But I don't think they're gonna get rid of him just yet. So that's the answer to that one. What else we have here? Why does Nick Nurse play Patrick McCaw so much? I don't know, because he's what what is he? He's solid. Right, he's solid and he's a good defender, and but I don't think he'll play much in the playoffs, so if that makes you feel any better. Is he really getting 20 every night? Fabrizio says. I think the only reason, by the way, he is because Fred VanVleet's been hurt. So again, like he won't play 10 minutes, maybe tops in the playoffs. Let's see here. Let's see. Mighty ASP, it's great to see me streaming. Great to be here. I'm going to do this a lot, so stay tuned. I got a question for you. Injury-prone Zion or frail-body Trae Young? Which type of talent is better to build a franchise around? Yikes. I mean, you would have to say Zion pretty quickly, but then again, we don't know what his body is going to hold up or not. But it's held up since then, but man, his biomechanics are a little bit troubling. So is that the result? You get Trae Young. I don't know. Trae Young is a frail body per se. He doesn't seem like he's a guy who gets injured too much. And the way he runs, it's like a Steve Nash, right? That's the kind of guy he is. So, man, I don't know. That's a tough one. I might say Trae Young, only because I'm looking at a 10-year period. But man, it's almost impossible to pick against Zion. Let's see here. Any other questions? We already talked about the 3-point line. Do I believe the delaying of the playoffs and finals affects when we start the next season? Everything will affect everything without question. When you interrupt those kind of training regimens and you have less time, it's going to be a problem. We've seen that in the lockout stuff too. So they would have to do something if it started too late next year. To cut down the number of games. Because by the next year they're gonna have to kind of catch back up again. It would take them, it'd take them years to smooth that back over. And no one wants to do that, I don't think. Let's see here. Scrolling through, where do I coach? I coach right here, right now. And then I have a Wednesday night clinic that I do for 9 to 15-year-olds in LA. Let's see here. Alrighty. Was Curry ever as bad a defender as Trae? Yeah, Curry wasn't great, but he got better. And I did a video a few years ago explaining why he's an elite defender. And at that time, I think it was in 2015 when I did that, he does things on the weak side and positioning that very few guards do, that are really like upper level stuff that make up for any kind of size issues that he had that was getting exploited in the finals when LeBron was trying to do that. Where did it go? So, okay, it's jumping around here. Someone asked me if I'm in favor of something, but I lost it. Let's see. Oh, are you in favor of a shorter regular season in the NBA? Probably. I wouldn't mind going to 78 games maybe and giving a little bit more rest. I think that's not bad. Although, the weird thing about, by the way, this is interesting. Something about the ratings were down a lot this year. And all I know is when I'm looking at the schedule and looking at what games to watch on a given night, it just kind of felt like 4 of the 6 games were against losing teams. Both teams are losing records. And I wonder if that has something to do with the fact that like they changed in the back-to-backs, less back-to-backs, and they try to eliminate those and make the game a little bit easier. I wonder if that somehow affected the schedule in a weird way where that kept happening. Of course, the Warriors not playing took away the late game with a winning record team as well. But that might be an issue, and I wonder if it's related to that or not. I don't know. Who is the most underappreciated? Abdullah asks. What player do you appreciate the most? I mean, a guy like Fred VanVleet is a guy who I really appreciate. But I mean, I can appreciate Luka Doncic too, and Trae Young, and all those high-skilled guys. So underappreciated. Gosh, let me look at the teams because that's a good question. Who underappreciated that I feel like? I don't know. It could be Siakam. Could be a guy like that. Gosh, it's a weird, interesting question. Who else would I think is underappreciated that I like that no one else talks about? Yeah, I don't know. Let me keep thinking about that because that's interesting. I mean, could I even say like Jaren Jackson Jr.? Could he be part of that? I think he's really good. And by the way, I don't like his shooting mechanics at all, but man, he gets it to go in. So good, God bless him. How do you feel about Schroeder in the 6-man race? Yeah, no, Schroeder is great, and he's a huge reason why they're doing so well this year. So, yeah, throw him in there. I got to look at that list. I'm kind of forgetting right now who else is in there. I think it's Lou Williams is still in there. Let's see. Can the Knicks rescue themselves? Where did that go? That was Basu Devon asks, how do you think the Knicks can rescue themselves? Oh, how do I think they can do it? Well, they got to get rid of some power forwards, and they got to get a coach in there that's, that could change the whole culture around, and that might not happen with the owner being there. This seems to be like, the owner and the coaching and the players all have to be on the same page. It really is a thing, believe it or not. And I don't know if it's possible. Let's see here. Why was Harden a great defender at OKC but now isn't with Houston? Probably because he has to do so much work on the offensive end. He feels like he needs to take a rest, and I can kind of understand that. And, he's not bad in the post, and, so he's got areas where he can do okay. But that's probably, that's what it is. He does so much work on the offensive end. Now, should he do less work on the offensive end for some more energy on the defensive end? Yeah, absolutely. Please do that. Bucks and the Lakers' biggest weaknesses. So I talked about the Lakers. The depth is their biggest weakness, and the Bucks is Eric Bledsoe. That's about it. That's what's going to hold them back, I think, ultimately, if they rely on him too much. If they don't, then they can keep going. But they're also not. They're kind of deep because I like those guys like DiVincenzo coming off the bench. They can contribute and do well, but it does drop off a little bit after the top compared to some of the other teams, and so that might hurt them. Let's see here. All right, man, I don't like how this chat skips quickly, but who's the best player right now? LeBron still has claim to that, behind Giannis, but even Giannis, skill-wise, I know what James Harden is saying, and then James Harden is up there too. So it had to be one of those guys, and could I say LeBron still? I don't know. I mean, listen, Luka is up there too. So actually, what the answer is? The answer is Kawhi. Will I consider Luka for MIP? Hell no. He was great last year. He's great this year. Let's see here. I guess all the way at the bottom here. Can you do a video and explain the tactical terms you use? Yeah, someone asked me this too. Maybe it was you on Twitter. It's on the list for sure, and I'll do this now that we have this hiatus. Explaining a pin down. Well, we saw pin downs in those 2 clips I shared earlier. Horn set. We used to talk about Horn's plays of the week. Maybe I'll resurrect that show. But flare screens, yes. Oh, I like how you spell flare, by the way. It's actually Flare, but I like flare because you might have flare if you've seen Office Space. Newcomers may not understand what these mean, and that's a great question. So, yeah, I can do a video on that and just sort of explain from very basic to more complicated stuff. It would certainly be worth it now that we have the time. So let's start wrapping this up. I don't know. Let's see. I showed you some clips. We're answering some questions. We talked about coronavirus. We learned about Christian Wood, and again. It's just the start. There's no question that you're going to have. I mean, let's just look at the population, this 2% number we talk about, we're getting infected. Oh, no, I'm sorry, 2%, never mind. I don't even know what the number right now is, what we expect, but it's going to be a lot. I mean, we'll get into millions, I suspect. Some people might have it and not even really know it, like it might just be a cold for them. I pray. But I guarantee you it's going to probably mirror the NBA, whatever the percentage is. So if it's 50% of the population in the U.S., it'll have there's no way it wouldn't be 50% for the NBA minimum, maybe more because they're really on top of each other. Now, Where would I rank? Let's see. Last couple of questions. Where would I rank Westbrook in the NBA? He's playing a lot better this year as a shooting guard. Is anybody around long enough in the conversation to remember how I would be bitterly yelling for years he should play shooting guard and he'd be behind like Dwayne Wade and like only one other player at that point? This is like 2012 I was saying this, and I got tired of it and I forgot about it. But he's playing two guard and he's playing the best ball of his career. So I might resurrect that whole storyline too. And also maybe do some digging to figure out why he was a point guard in the first place. He didn't play it in college. He just decided, I guess, in the draft, somebody decided, oh, he'll play point guard. And that's what he did. And it's always been strange to me. I've never understood that and why that became the default right out of the bat. Let's see here. Thoughts on Cam Reddish? I like Cam Reddish. I think he's going to be really good. He's long, good athlete, a lot of skill. He's developing appropriately. It's a process. And so in a couple of years, I think he's going to be on his way. He kind of reminds me of like Jason Tatum a little bit. Maybe he's a little bit behind that by at the same point of Tatum's career, but he kind of feels like that kind of player to me. Let's see here. Is Pau Gasol a top 10 power forward in history? Wow. I mean, do we have to include the Euro stuff, the Spanish national team stuff? Maybe. Pau's gotten slept on a little bit too. I feel like he was really good for a lot of years in the NBA. Some was obscured in Memphis, and then certainly when he won those titles in LA. But I don't think you can put him in the top 10 in history. I just don't think he makes it that high. Frank Ntilikina, is this for most improved? Okay. All right, we got to look at the numbers now because he's been looking really good. I've seen some of the highlights, but we got to look at the numbers. But I did a video on Frank, was really high on him, which maybe means I was way ahead of the game on that one. We'll see. And then we're saying Tatum. What did I say? What about Tatum? Tatum most improved? No. Coach of the year. Nick Nurse, I would by hands down, Coach of the year. You got it, Jose. Best MVP story. Let's see here. LeBron would be the best story, and that again, this is also screwy because there's going to be this huge delay. Maybe we don't even finish the season, so we don't know how that's all going to affect the storylines in terms of the voting. I would like to get a vote. Maybe one day I'll get a vote in that stuff. All right, listen, I think we're good. This has been a nice, great start to a weird moratorium on all sports, but I'm glad that we could be here and hang out, and I hope you guys are staying safe. You got to really practice social, social distortion. Social, what's the word I'm looking for? Help me, guys. Staying away from each other. Trump just tweeted it in all caps earlier today. Social distancing. Thank you, Gigolo Pup. Oh, and again, to have Gigolo Puff out there every single time to moderate these things is just amazing to me. And I'm not worthy of such a great, helpful moderator. He's always there, no matter what time of day or night or day of the week. So everybody, make sure you give him a lot of love. And again, social distancing, make sure you practice that. We really got to get a handle on this thing because China seems to have gotten it under control, at least, so it's not spreading very much. But they were 2 months ahead of us. Okay, so imagine that, at least in the U.S. And in Italy, please practice that and get those numbers down in a hurry, and everywhere else. And if you're in a warm weather country, maybe you seem to be a lot better off than others. And then let's hope that keeps up. So again, awesome stuff. We'll be back again. Stay tuned tomorrow for I have a very special guest, a guy who played in that game, in the finals game between Duke and Butler. I'll let you guess who it is, or have to figure out who it is on your own, and you'll find out tomorrow when it comes out. We're going to do a premiere tomorrow. We'll test that out. So a premiere where we all watch it together. We can all be commenting live together while it's going on, and then see how that goes. It sounds interesting. I've always wanted to do that. So stay tuned for that tomorrow, and stay safe, everybody out there. And don't forget, sports fans, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You win.